You're welcome back. It's still Daybreak here on Trust TV, and it's time for us to look at stories that made it to the front pages of our dailies this morning. Now, starting off with our own Daily Trust. Boldly, their Daily Trust. Governors reject VAT hike. Propose new sharing formula. That's on tax reform. Stop scrapping of TED fund, NASINE and NITDA. We have the picture there showing them at the end of the meeting at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. Now, on the top left, truck kills 6 family members and 8 others in Benue. Abuja Kaduna Road ready in 14 months, said the federal government. Okay. 6 terrorists, 5 soldiers die in Sokoto gunduel. Still on Daily Trust, families of Zamfara airstrike victims demand compensation. And on the ceasefire deal, Israel kills 75 Palestinians amidst ceasefire deal. You'll find that on page 25 if you're interested in that. And President Sanusi, don't undermine our reforms. And on oil and gas, Lokpobiri assures of sustained collaborations. Those are the stories we have on the front pages of the Daily Trust newspaper. Do well to pick yourself, grab yourself a copy and keep yourself informed. Now let's look at Guardian. On Guardian, a big story, page 4 and 5, war against terrorists. Caught in the middle, survivors count cost of accidental air strike. Federal government, NIMC, launched digital cards to assist farmers and others. Still on Guardians, Boko Haram ambush. UN demands justice for 40 killed in Borno. And EFCC to arraign ex-bank chiefs over alleged 12.3 billion naira fraud. Rowdy session at National Assembly over budget defense. Now, DHQ blames external forces, local collaborators for terrorism surge in the northeast. Police seal PDP secretariat in Rivers over leadership crisis, and PDP shuns Ondo local government poll as police restrict movement and warns miscreants. Still on Guardian, focus on economic reforms, stable fiscal policy, LCCI charges the federal government. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. So grab yourself a copy to keep yourself informed. Now, joining us in the studio to look at the stories that have made it to the front pages of the paper and also give us details on other stories we have through the day, we have Nuruddin Abdullah, 21st Century Chronicle, editor, 21st Century Chronicle, as he joins us this morning. Thank you so much for having you.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we've touched on the 2 major things on the paper this morning. We took it in our phone-in segment and we took it in the discussion segment, starting from the governor's stance with the VAT hike. Nigerians, during the phone-in segment, we analyzed it. We looked at the sharing formula, which they put at 50, 30, 20. And then we also looked at them insisting on the pause of the VAT hike and also stopping the scrapping of TED fund and NITD and NSINE. All of that put together, what's your take on the stance of the governors through all of this?
It is expected, and the decision by the Governors Forum yesterday bring into the fore that the hula baloo that generated because of the bill in the National Assembly is in the first place uncalled for. There are 4 bills with hundreds of sections, clauses, and what have you. But look at the government decision. It's about VAT. Like I mentioned, the money that goes to them is their primary concern. Maybe they brought in the TED fund, NASINI, and NIDA, maybe just as a backup. But their main concern is the proposed VAT new sharing formula will reduce the money that goes into their pockets. Nothing else. If it is patriotism, if it is speaking for the people, where were they when subsidies on petroleum products were removed? They were there. The National Assembly people are still there. But because that singular action skyrocketed, more than triple the fact they receive, they were mute. Governors that needed to collect 2.5 billion are now collecting 10 billion. And unfortunately, with nothing to show for it. So these are the issues. And the sharing formula, look at this. We're talking about revenue by derivation. it means that majority of the governors, particularly from the northern part, are not ready
to work,
to improve their economic fulcrum, creating the enabling environment to bring investors to come and invest and set up businesses, factories, and what have you. Lagos is doing that, Ogun is doing that, you understand. Because the derivation is not a problem. Okay, everything is concentrated in Lagos. In your state, what are you doing? This thing will not last forever. The second leg of the issue, the third fund, these are intervention agencies. They were created to address certain issues. But the problem with Nigeria is this: the moment you create something which is just temporary, it remains forever. It's wrong. AMCON is there. It has a time frame. Time frame has elapsed, but it is still there. Same thing with third fund. Third fund cannot be there forever. It was set up actually principally to address some infrastructure deficit and maybe capacity building about tertiary institutions. But it is not established there forever. Businesses cannot be channeling their fund forever to certain issues. Let's have that at the back of our mind. Sooner or later, a government will come that will do away with most of these things.
True that. True that. True that. Well, like we said, like I said earlier, the tax reform is still, we're still going to see a lot more developments on this. We're still watching. The governors have put in their stance. It's left for the Senate to pass. It's left for the committee to speak. It's left for the presidency to speak. So there's a lot of, there's still going to be a lot to talk about in this, and we're looking forward to seeing it all play out. But still on the newspaper, we're seeing that families of Zamfara airstrike, they are demanding compensation. And it beats me as to, should they even demand? Shouldn't be something that should be, this is what has happened. There should be a certain level of compensation. Do they have to demand? And what's your take on this airstrike that has been happening by the military severally, and we're finding civilians being affected?
I don't know actually the problem. It is no longer an accident. It happens in the last, let's say, 7, 8 years. You remember what happened in Iran, in Borno. Is there a problem with our pilots? That maybe they have a problem now reading the coordinates? Oh, we have a problem with the craft they are using. It happened in Iran, Borno. It happened in Sokoto. It happened in Kaduna. It now happened in Zamfara within a space of less than 1 year. From Sokoto, Kaduna, and now Zamfara. Why is this recurring? Because there is no consequence. The military or the defense headquarters has failed to tell Nigerians. They normally investigate this. What is the problem? What actually is the problem? There should be consequence. Somebody that is responsible for this must be punished, and people will know, so that it should not be repeated. Collateral damage, yes, we understand that. But when collateral damage is happening every now and then it is no longer a collateral damage for us. So they are right. Okay, go to, let's say, what is happening in Kaduna, for instance. Because of the religious coalition, you remember? They all move, promises. Okay, maybe. I saw Kaduna State Governor commissioning some stuff not long ago. But it has to stop. And I hope the Zamfara State government, non-governmental organizations, will ensure that compensation is paid, yes. Let the military start paying compensation so that they will ensure that any fighter pilot that will be flying those craft must know what he's doing.
Know what he's doing. And they actually do deserve their compensation. Now, we saw the back and forth between the presidency and, Sanusi yesterday. Sanusi coming out to say he knows what the solution and he won't help. And the president say, well, we don't need your opinion. You supported all of this through and through. What's your take on this back and forth and the stance of Sanusi at this point?
I think what the 16th Emir of Kano did is more political or theoretical Sanusi has been a die-in-the-wool capitalist, neoliberal capitalist. At a time when the entire country was rising against for subsidy removal, he supported it.
Yes.
He supported the removal of all these different categories of foreign exchange. He supported the floating of the naira. That is less than a year ago. Then what happened in between? Okay, he was supporting the president to get something in return, and it turned out that the president is not bulging. That's why he's saying all this. He has never been on the side of the people. No, that is it, from his antecedents. He has never, and I look at it as a grandstanding. Nigeria is bigger than an individual. Nigerians will survive without Sanusi or with Sanusi. Yes. So saying that I will not offer my, as if our entire destiny is tied to his neoliberal capitalistic permutations. He was in government before. What has he done? Not only he canvassed, supported, and endorsed subsidy removal, floating of the naira, he went to the villa and congratulated the president for removing subsidy that plunged majority of Nigerians into abject poverty. Then what's he talking about? Is it because of his crisis in Kano about this? Okay, maybe he thought that by doing that, he'll have a smooth sail to his return as the Emir of Kano. And maybe the federal government or what have you now is looking indifferent. You shouldn't take Nigerians for granted. It's a grandstanding to say that it is because of your single advice or suggestion. Okay, here the Midas, the magic one. Let's Nigeria have light, and we'll have light 247.
All right. Moving away from that now to conclude. This ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas is something that has got Nigerians talking. But what I picked out of it through and through is our relationship with our own neighbors here in Nigeria, our relationship with Niger, our relationship with Burkina Faso, how they saw France and how we accepted France. And, you know, the fact that we have our own insecurity going on in here. Our guest here said Nigeria has been a silent giant. I said the giant is probably silent because it has its own problem in-house. You know, what they are dealing with outside is what you are dealing with, only you inside your house. And with all the fact that we have all this little inter-countries tension going on, that we're not in unity with our own neighbors. You know, what does all of that have to say we put vis-a-vis with what has happened in Israel and Hamas at the moment?
Our problem with our neighbors, particularly Niger Republic, has been exacerbated by the fact that President Tinubu is the chairman of ECOWAS. But before ECOWAS, Nigeria first. Terrorism is an international thing, interstate thing. You can push it terrorists, they'll go to Niger, Cameroon, what have you. So you need the buy-in of these neighboring countries to tame it. So whether Niger is in the ECOWAS or not, Nigeria should find a way of amending its relationships, at least to tackle insecurity that both affect Nigeria and Niger Republic. So we should have that synergy, whether they are in ECOWAS or not. You know, there is since all manner of allegations, because yes, they chased out France, and President went to France and signed all manner of controversial pacts and what have you. So they became G3 and what have you. But we still need Niger. We needed them when we were fighting the civil war. They put their boots on ground. So with terrorism now, is it Lakurawa? Is it Boko Haram? We still need Niger, whether they are in ECOWAS or not. We should find a way of amending our relationship to tackle this common enemy. I think that's what the president should do.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. You know, it's always, I usually enjoy, you know, my conversations with you on Friday. I actually usually look forward to it, and I'm sure our listeners do. You know, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's good to have you.
My pleasure.
Well, we're just talking to Nuruddin Abdallah, editor of 21st Century Chronicle, where we're looking at stories that made it to the dailies this morning. I hope you've been able to pick up one or two things, from the newspaper review to our discussion and the phone-in segment. I hope we've been able to keep you informed and educated. Like I would always say, do not wait. Find a way to keep yourself informed on the happenings, policies that are going on in Nigeria. That way you'll be able to talk about the government and policies from an informed standpoint. Well, having said that, we've come to the end of Daybreak this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Lilian Ogazi. At the top of the hour, we're going to be having business. We're going to be having sports. We'll have business, and we'll also have our news updates. So stick around. There's still a lot more for you. Bye for now.